From the Santa Ynez Valley, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who are not drinking Merlot, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
I'm actually just focused on World Cup right now, but I always appreciate a good Alexander Payne sideways reference. Corey, who sent that one in?
That was written by Jason Kroons, who's making a reference to that movie about drinking that I have a DVD of that I watched before. Sideways? Sideways.
Yeah. Oh, I love Corey. Corey makes me laugh.
He's the Coreyest.
He is.
Wade, we have the surprise creative hit of the year.
Yeah, we do.
Who would have thunk it?
We do. And
Who
those
would have
guys,
thunk that this movie would be great?
They are such interesting directors. They really do. They are. And I didn't see this in when it played theatrically, so it's nice to catch up with it on Blue.
What are we talking about? You'll find out.
Oh, you will. Yes, you will. But first, we are going to talk about documentaries so boring they will put you to sleep. Actually.
Oh, really?
No, not really. Well, actually, we got a few documentaries. Probably worth making a quick mention of a few of them, just right from the outset. Pandora's Promise. Did you see this, Mark?
I did not.
It's not bad. I mean, it's kind of dry, but it's interesting. Whenever you have a documentary that's really dry, it's always interesting as long as it's an interesting subject. It's not good. No, this is the whole idea of nuclear power and whether or not the promise of nuclear power is really worth things like the Fukushima plant and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. It talks to a lot of people who have who actually they've gone from being anti-nuclear to pro-nuclear, believe it or not. It's very interesting. I don't know that it actually reaches any kind of a great conclusion or anything, but it certainly pokes your brain a little bit, and it's good. Robert Stone, who directed it, good guy. Nothing illuminating there, but this one, as long as we're on environmental docs, Frack Nation. Everybody keeps talking about fracking. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was a reference to Battlestar Galactica for the longest time.
Yeah, I still don't know what fracking is. It's like with oil and they break.
It's like shale. It's like they basically pulverize the crap out of the shale to get oil out of it. And
why is that bad?
Well, because a lot of people there's a whole litany of reasons why it's bad. So some people say. But it's like, fracking is short for fracturing, as in like hydraulic fracturing, right? It's like bam, bam, bam. So
like Bam Bam.
Exactly, like Flintstones, exactly. So you're basically just pummeling like all kinds of liquid and fluid and really intense pressure, and you're breaking up the shale and getting the gas out. And I don't really understand the process all that much. But the issues have to do with a number of things. Seismic issues, in other words, whether or not you're causing instability in the Earth's crust and along fault lines and stuff, possibly contaminating groundwater, and a whole bunch of other issues. So obviously stuff on either side. But this is called Frack Nation, and this is a rather thorough and methodical look at how it all shakes out, and who's lying and who's exaggerating and who's not, and who has ulterior motives. And again, I don't know that I came away from this feeling like I'd finally gotten a grip on the subject, but at least I know that it has nothing to do with Battlestar Galactica anymore, and I think that's important. A bunch of cool titles too from First Run Features, who have their cool little eco packaging and their little tiny sleeves. James Thurber, The Life and Hard Times. You probably know who James Thurber is, don't you?
He's an author.
Among other things. A famous humorist. Well known. I mean, he wrote The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the original short story, did cartoons for The New Yorker. Anyway, this is a documentary on his life, narrated by George Plimpton. And it's lovely. He's definitely a New Yorker-y guy. He sort of defines the Renaissance man that the magazine appeals to. Top Hat and Tails, Harold Ross and the Making of the New Yorker, by the same director, Adam Van Doren, is kind of a companion piece. The previous one obviously narrated by George Plimpton. This one's narrated by Stanley Tucci. Very appropriate. Plimpton is much more of a Thurbery kind of guy. Tucci gets inside Harold Ross, who's much more of a force of nature, and this is obviously much more about the business background and how it was all put together, and also very, very interesting. You forget what a really extraordinary effort the New Yorker was and still is. I mean, I don't think the New Yorker has suffered a single bit in the whole publishing meltdown, has it?
You know, I used to subscribe to the New Yorker on my iPad.
Yeah.
And I canceled it. You know why?
Why?
Because I can't keep up with them. It's every week, and the whole magazine, which we all
every essay is 75,000 words.
You know what? I can't sit there and listen and read a 75,000 word essay on some woman's like summer in New England. That's all it is.
I know.
I can't. I mean, I love the New Yorker. You know, Anthony Lane is one of my favorite film critics. I love reading that guy. That guy's
outstanding.
Great.
He's great.
You know, and
really
Seymour
is.
Hersh does some interesting work at the New Yorker. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. And Woody Allen will sometimes come up with an essay in the New Yorker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the New Yorker.
But isn't that sad that we're so busy now? Isn't technology wasn't it supposed to unleash our free time? Like robots are doing everything, so I can sit down and read the New Yorker.
Wade, I'm holding in my hand now
Yeah.
is my free time. Yeah, in my hand. No, not that. Yeah, free time. This is what I'm holding. What am I holding in my hand, Wade?
A Kindle.
I love my Kindle. Here's what I have in my Kindle now, Wade. This is what I have. This is what I'm reading now. You ready?
Yeah.
I am reading right now Ray Bradbury's short stories.
Good.
Right, chosen by Bradbury himself.
Sure.
I just downloaded Elmore Leonard,
Yeah.
Swag. You know,
Sure.
I've read a few
boy.
Leonard novels. I read The Talented Mr. Ripley,
Uh-huh.
Patricia Highsmith, the original.
Yeah.
I read Gone Girl, which is David Fincher's new film. I've read the book. So pretty much I know how the film ends. Fantastic. Good for me. I have read 12 Years a Slave, the Solomon Northup, which is amazing. And I've got other stuff too. I've got the Oscar Wilde collection. I got the Mark Twain collection. And it's great. Kindle rules. The end.
Good.
Unequivocal Kindle rules. I have never read so much in my life.
And just a few other docs here real quickly as I
You
go ahead
don't
and I
care
ignore
what I
Mark and his
said.
Kindle. Kindle should be kindling. Paul Bowles, The Cage Door is Always Open. Before Bowles died, he left a lot of interviews, and this kind of folds those in with a lot of thoughts and interviews with people who knew him and worked with him, including Bernardo Bertolucci. Remember, Bertolucci did The Sheltering Sky based on a Bowles novel. And, Gore Vidal, John Waters, William Burroughs, on and on and on and on. He's one of those kind of, twitty, renaissance-y writers from that generation who just lived a legendary life. And this gets into the work and the life and all that stuff, and it is very workmanlike. It's very solid. Again, doesn't really transcend what you would expect it to be, but it is exactly what you would expect it to be. So well done by Daniel Young, but not exactly groundbreaking work. Peter Brook, always interesting to see what he does. Simon Brook made the documentary about Peter Brook called The Tightrope, and it's essentially a masterclass with Peter Brook into looking at how he directs theater, his whole philosophy of working with actors and staging, etc., etc. And it centers mainly on a particular technique that he calls the tightrope, which when you watch this, you will understand and it will make sense. So his son, just decided he would film his dad go elaborating on all of these very particular theoretical approaches to techniques, and this one in particular. And it's good. Peter Brook, I think, is one of the more underrated directors, not just in theater but in film. I keep talking about this. I wish, even though you can see the whole thing on YouTube, I really wish they would do a Blu-ray of his King Lear, which I think is just, Paul Scofield is amazing. The black and white photography is stark and really disturbing. The sound design is equally eerie. I think it's a great film, and you can see it on YouTube free, but I want it on Blu-ray. And then from the Athena line, the Acorn Athena line, is Alexander's Lost World, which is a journey with David Adams, who is a journalist and a war correspondent, This is essentially a journey through the lands that Alexander the Great once conquered and occupied, etc., etc. It is an elaborate series. It's over 4 hours long easily, and it asks a lot of very, very interesting and provocative questions, includes a lot of great educational material, and especially considering how all of those lands are still at the center of all of our current global disputes and all of that. It really is interesting to kind of venture into this and poke that part of your brain. So I think Alexander's Lost World is a particularly great title. And then lastly, Tim's Vermeer, a Penn and Teller film, which was one of my favorite documentaries of last year. I gave a push with our LA Film Critic voting to have people consider this. I don't think anybody saw this. They sent us a bunch of copies of this. Did you have a chance to watch Tim's Vermeer?
Yeah, it's very good.
It's really good, man. It's really good. Anything that Penn and Teller have anything to do with, I just think is awesome. But anyway, this is basically an approach to basically how Vermeer managed to be so insanely detailed with his painting, and it's a rather interesting scientific investigation by this guy named Tim Jennison, who is an inventor from Texas who decides to basically spend years and years and years to try to unravel the mystery of what he thinks is, Vermeer's painting. There is a commentary here which is both insightful and incredibly funny on some very, very subtle levels, deleted and alternate sequences, and a Q&A from the Toronto Film Festival when the thing premiered. This is a Blu-ray and DVD combo set from Sony Pictures Classics, and I think, if not the best doc of last year, certainly in the top 5.
Wait, let's talk about the surprise creative success of 2014, the Lego Movie.
Man, did I just have no desire to see this thing from the outset. I just thought,
nobody
really?
did. We were all like, are you S-ing me?
But you know what? These guys are the real deal, man. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs kind of put them on the map.
For Lord Christopher Miller.
And I love 22 Jump Street. I love 22 Jump Street. It is hysterical. It is right up there with Tropic Thunder and Team America for me.
Now, we don't get this. The bizarre part is that these guys are supposedly signed to do Alvin and the Chipmunks 4. Now, if they do for Alvin and the Chipmunks what they did with Lego Movie, I mean, it'll be literally like the achievement of the century.
And I'll tell you another movie that goes in line with that. If they manage to work that same kind of satirical, very wry, just backhanded satire, you know what else did that? And I didn't like the first Gremlins at all. I think the first Gremlins is stupid. But Gremlins 2 is a wicked satire. I mean, it is a wicked, wicked satire, and I think it's totally underrated. I think if people watch Gremlins 2 again today, man, that movie is funny.
And that's bold, because nowadays, if you make a sequel, it has to be just like the original.
I mean, do you remember Gremlins 2 when they take over the theater?
Yeah.
And you have the Siskel and Ebert Gremlins doing their little... Oh, come on, man.
I mean, it's been a lot of years, but I remember it vaguely, yeah.
Genius. That was genius. Anyway, Lego Movie. Unbelievable how this actually works. It's astonishing to me. It's just breathtaking.
Because it's funny.
It is.
It's, you know what? It packs in a lot of gags. It's visually. You know what's funny is that I saw there was an episode of The Simpsons a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Almost the entire episode was made of Legos. Marge was Legos.
Oh, I remember that.
Completely not funny. It's almost as if they wrote it. They really backed away from the humor.
Went out of their way.
Well, no, what they did was, instead of embracing Legos and everything it brings to it, they really kind of it was almost like they were scared to write anything too satirical or funny or make the laughs come too quickly, because then they'd have to figure out how to animate it with Legos. You know, the fact that it was a Lego episode really stunted their creativity. But here, these guys, they take the whole Lego thing and they just run wild with it.
They do.
Absolutely wild.
You also get a little figurine here, a little Vitruvius Lego minifigurine, and it's a nice big bold plastic set that just screams at you. You can't miss this one. A little bonus 3D movie, extras that just gobs and gobs of extras. It's really fun. It's really fun. So that is the shocker of the year, and how they managed to do that and 22 Jump Street literally within like the same 12-month period, I don't understand. But they nailed it, man.
They sure did. Here's a surprise: a kind of a charming little movie called Rob the Mob. Rob the Mob is a movie about these boyfriend girlfriend, played by Michael Pitt and Nina Arianda, and they get arrested for robbing a florist on Valentine's Day. They get sprung from the pokey, and they try to get their life straight. And of course, all sorts of craziness ensues, and that craziness includes appearances by Ray Romano and Andy Garcia. And I got to say, this thing seemed like a big nothing to me.
Ooh, baby.
Huh?
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, no, you know what? It's a very deft balance between comedy and drama. The leads, I'm not that. I mean, Michael Pitt, I know the name, not that familiar with him. Nina Arianda, I don't know who that is at all, but they're pretty charming together. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It's got a couple laughs. It's really not bad. It's really not bad. It's a pleasant surprise. Rob the Mob. Check it out.
So Neil LaBute has been all over the map in his career, and some of the films have been good, some are not so good. Why you would do the remake of The Wicker Man and crazy stuff, but Some Velvet Morning, written and directed by Neil LaBute, as he should do all of his films, is back in style. Really good.
Excuse me, Wade.
My goodness. Really good performances from Stanley Tucci and Alice Eve in what is very much like classic Neil LaBute stuff, a hard-hitting play translated into a film. That's what this feels like. Stanley Tucci's a guy, they used to have, these two were lovers, once had an affair. He claims he's left his wife. They haven't seen each other for 4 years. But things do not necessarily get started again with the same verve that he was perhaps expecting. And it goes into some dark directions, some dark obsessive directions, and quite well put together. Not one of the best films of last year, but definitely kind of a return to form. And I'll tell you, Alice Eve, not somebody that I've really necessarily had my eye on, but when you're acting opposite Stanley Tucci, pretty great. And he forces everyone to just elevate their game.
Speaking pretty great, Wade, let's do a Criterion.
Do it.
The Beatles, Hard Day's Night.
Oh, yeah, baby.
This is good stuff from 1964.
And we should point out, this is being released theatrically, concurrent with the Criterion release. There's, this is working its way around the country. So don't be surprised if you suddenly see Hard Day's Night show up on a screen near you. And even if you have this, even if you go out and get the Criterion Blu-ray, you should see this projected. It's a great movie to see projected, especially with a crowded audience. It's a lot of fun. And,
we don't really have musical artists like the Beatles anymore because, when the Beatles first hit in 1964, UA, they wanted to do a Beatles movie before the fad went away because who knew how long it was going to... I mean, frankly, the Beatles were done by 1970. So it was like a $500,000 budget. They hired an American, Richard Lester, who was, who would later be named the father of the music video thanks to films like this. And they shot this movie. And you know what? The movie captures the energy and youth of the band. It wound up being released within months of being shot. They wanted to rush this thing out. And it's fun. It's a really fun film. It's got a lot of great music. It's got a lot of great attitude. It just shows the boys being real and being musical, and just shows that all four of them, some more than others, but all four of them have some musical and have some movie presence, And so it's great. The Criterion, of course, knocks it out of the park. It's a 4K digital restoration. It's got all sorts of extras. 2002 documentary about the film, which features Lester and George Martin. And George Martin, their producer, who's still around, he will talk about the Beatles all day long. That's all he does. Like his job at this point, because who knows how old he is.
Talking about the Beatles.
And it's great. It's a must-buy. It's got a great booklet. It's got great music. It's got great extras. Hard Day's Night looks beautiful. It's all in beautiful black and white, low budge black and white, grainy black and white, but still good looking. It's consistent and respectful to the original print. Because again, this is like 60 years ago, so it's going to look a little grainy, and that's okay. Low budge, black and white, old. It should look grainy, and it does look grainy. So it's just a lot of madcap clowning and crazy, inventive, mockumentary-type jokes and A Hard Day's Night. You guys got to get it. Criterion.
Sweet.
You could give this to me if you wanted to.
You wish. So, Guillaume Canet. Mark, why do we hate Guillaume Canet?
Because
you know
he
why?
makes 4-hour thrillers.
No. Guillaume Canet. We hate him for a very particular reason.
Because he's related to Robert Guillaume from Benson?
Oh, my gosh. Why do I do that? Why?
Tell me Guillaume Canet does not make 4-hour thrillers. That are great, by the way, but they're like 4 hours.
No, Guillaume Canet, here's the reason we hate him. Because you and I sat next to his betrothed at a LAFCA dinner once.
We did.
Marion Cotillard.
No,
yes.
I sat next to her. You were like at some other table. No, I sat right next to her, and this is before she was kind of Marion Cotillard.
So that's why we hate him because he got Marion Cotillard.
Well, no, but here's the thing. No, hang on for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, before Marion Cotillard was really Marion Cotillard.
Yes.
And we gave her Best Actress for Olivia and Rose, which she would later win an Oscar for.
Yes.
She sat next to me at the LAFCA dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there somewhere, who knows where.
Yes.
So I'm talking to her. She's very sweet. And everybody else at the table were kind of these Euro douchebags.
Oh my gosh!
That she had come with.
Well, it's
and it was very disappointing.
The film's director. That was who just did the disastrous can opener, the Princess Grace movie.
That's right.
Yeah, he tanked that one. Boy, was that a shanker.
So
made Harvey look like a genius.
So Marion Cotillard.
Yeah.
Beautiful, very nice, very shy. Couldn't believe all this was happening to her. Talking to her, very nice. It's me, Marion, you were somewhere, and like 8 other Euro douchebags that make me go, you know what? I have no chance with this woman now, because she obviously likes Euro douchebags. As if, as literally, she could like 8 clones of me, and I still wouldn't get her.
Yeah.
So it's not like I ever had a chance.
Yeah.
But when I saw the 8 Euro douchebags, I thought, you know what? I have no chance, and it was just disappointing that somebody that sweet and that nice would be interested in Euro douchebags.
Well, Guillaume Canet just directed the English language film Blood Ties, which he co-wrote, by the way, with James Gray, who just directed Marion Cotillard in The Immigrant. So there's the
which
whole.
I missed. I was really wanted to see.
I still have to catch up with it, which makes me feel bad because I've known James for as long as I've known everybody from that little clique. That goes all back to the Matt Reeves thing, That's Matt Reeves was in film school with James Gray, so was Brian Burke. That's how I met James Gray. You know this. Did I ever tell you this story? Have I ever told this story on the show?
I don't know.
I first met James Gray. Here we go.
Now, James Gray, who directed The Gray.
Not The Gray. Who directed Little Odessa and a million other things. We Own the Night. Anyway, which is very much like Blood Ties, I should point out. He co-wrote this. It's based on... let me just cover this first, and then I'll get into this. So, there's the movie Blood Ties is originally a French film by Jacques Maillot. Guillaume Canet and James Gray wrote the script. Canet directed it. It's basically set in the 70s. Clive Owen and Billy Crudup are brothers on the wrong side of the law, right? Clive Owen is the ex-con. His younger brother is Billy Crudup, who's a cop. And one gets out of prison, and then he can't stay straight, and you wind up with the brothers facing off thing, and the hair and leather and high heel era of the 1970s. And I don't think it works as well as it probably could, partly because we've seen this before. But you know what? It's got a really good cast and mostly sustains it. Matthias Schoenaerts is in this movie, and I always enjoy him. He's the guy from Bullhead, the Belgian film. But James Caan, always great. Mila Kunis, surprisingly good. Zoe Saldana, surprisingly good. And, of course, Marion Cotillard does show up in here as well. I think it would be, stupid not to if you can bring her in here. But really, it's Clive Owen and Billy Crudup who own the movie. They own the movie, and they do a great job. Clive Owen can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. So, anyway, it's worth checking out. I'd hoped for a better film, but I think it's still very, very solid. This is a Blu-ray and ultraviolet combo set. And now, I'm going to tell you when I first met James Gray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's give you a little James Gray. Okay, it's The Yards. I didn't mean The Gray.
Yeah, The Yards, sure.
Two Lovers with Joaquin Phoenix, very good.
Oh, great film.
That's right.
Great film.
So James Gray, he has yet to have his hopefully The Immigrant is it. His super breakout, give him a couple of Oscars movie. He's almost there.
James is a tremendous director. He really is. And I met James. I was at UCLA Film School. And, Matt Reeves, who a good friend of mine from high school, Matt, who just directed the Planet of the Apes movie, Matt was at USC. I'd introduced Matt to Brian Burke, who runs Bad Robot for JJ, who you went to school with. Oh my gosh, you hear all those sounds? It's us dropping names. And
yet here we are in my living room doing a podcast.
So I schlepped down. It's like I can't. It's like October, I guess it is, because it was a Halloween-themed thing. So anyway, I schlepped down from UCLA over to Brian's house, because he lived near UCLA at the time, because he was shooting his student film at USC, and it had something to do with kids on Halloween who were toilet papering the house and the neighborhood and whatever. And I can't even remember what it was. So I schlepped down a few blocks from the school to help him shoot some stuff. And here is his very cynical, very upset at Brian's unprofessionalism DP, a colleague of his, James Gray, who was just standing around and was just sighing and rolling his eyes, and the whole thing was just not professional up to his standards. It was very funny. And Brian, of course, introduces me, and you learn very quickly that James has the driest, most acerbic wit of any human being you will ever get to know. So his movies may seem like very dark, but he himself has an amazing wit. And I'll tell you something about James, which is not widely known. Some people have talked about this, but James, the two Looney Tunes shorts that are opera themed, What's Opera Doc and the Rabbit of Seville, committed to memory. He can sing those at the drop of both of them. He will sing them verbatim, word, bam, like that. If you say Rabbit of Seville, let me crop your mop, let me crop it up, he just, right off the top of his head, he's got them down.
I cannot wait to moderate a panel with James Gray. Ask him to do that.
It will blow your mind. It gets a standing ovation. It is astonishing how he can do that. It just floors me. So anyway.
I have something astonishing.
Yes, what do you have?
In my pants.
Oh, that's an old one.
And
by old, I mean, you know what I'm saying.
We waited a while for a sequel to 300. Turns out
we didn't. No, we actually didn't.
We didn't wait long enough.
No, I didn't wait. I didn't want this movie.
300 Rise of an Empire. This is in 3D Blu-ray. I don't know why they're doing stuff in 3D Blu-ray. It's just such a non-starter. 3D Blu-ray, regular Blu-ray, DVD and digital HD. I don't know what to say. If you liked the other one, I guess you'll like this one. This one has... come on, wait. Do I have to talk about this movie?
No, not really, because no one's going to see it.
What am I, 25 years old? It's over. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
This is terrible. The cast is fun. Eva Green is interesting because Eva Green has an interesting look because obviously she's gorgeous, but she has that look where she can look like badass, like she is here.
Yeah.
Or she has like a funky mouth where she almost looks like she could do like a comedy or almost look ugly in a film if she wanted to. She's got an interesting face. I mean, she's beautiful, but she has an interesting face. Anyway, what I'm saying is that it's just one big video game and a lot of blood, which I guess means something to somebody, and it's just terrible. I don't like these movies. I didn't like the first one. I don't like this one. I just think if you want a bunch of CGI blood, very highly stylized CGI, I guess you can go for it, but it's just a bunch of men leaping up in the air as they unsheath their swords.
So, yeah, it's stupid. Whatever. So, Winter's Tale is a movie that got really unfairly maligned. Did you see Winter's Tale?
No, I did not.
This is a Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet combo set. Colin Farrell, Russell Crowe, Jessica Brown Findlay, and I think it's sharp. I'm pretty much loving everything Colin Farrell does these days, and Colin Farrell and Russell Crowe in the same movie to me is like, you know what? If I were not a straight man, this would be my movie.
No. The reason why I will give you 2 words as to why I did not see this movie.
Why?
Akiva Goldsman.
Akiva Goldsman wrote and directed it. Why don't you like Akiva Goldsman?
Because you know what? He writes bad movies. He writes Angels and Demons and The Da Vinci Code, and he wrote A Beautiful Mind. Okay, you got to give him that. He also wrote Lost in Space, Practical Magic. He wrote Batman and Robin.
But you know what?
He was a big tentpole guy.
He was,
like in the mid-90s.
But those are all for hire gigs. Those are for hire gigs, and he's just going through the motions. But he wrote and directed this based on the Mark Halperin novel from 1983, and it's his directing debut. And I'm sad that it was a bomb when it was released because this thing tanked. I mean, it just dropped like a stone, and that's too bad because I really think it's got some cool edges to it. It's a supernatural romance, in kind of set in the past and in the present, and I won't go into all of the little ins and outs of it, but I really thought this had some really nice stuff in it. It's just too bad. I'm afraid that it'll kind of tank his career as well. So Anyway, but it bombed, and that's just too bad.
Uh-huh.
And, I got to tell you, man, I love Denis Villeneuve. I do. I think he's great. I've been on board with this guy forever, all the way back to Maelstrom. He's a French-Canadian filmmaker, did Maelstrom. He did Incendie, which got him an Oscar nomination.
Sure, great film.
And then just last year, he did the big Hugh Jackman deal.
Prisoners. Intense.
Insane how intense that movie was. And then he turns around with Jake Gyllenhaal, who's also in Prisoners, and does Enemy. And I'm thinking, dude can do no wrong. He is just rocking it. And you watch Enemy and you go, what? Why did with all that you had going with what was the point?
What's the thing with the guy in the thing?
Yeah, I don't understand this. The Jake Gyllenhaal in this weird dual role, and it's I don't know, man. It's very it's very strange. The whole idea of doppelganger stories typically don't really work. There are very few that ever have.
Well, Jesse Eisenberg just did a doppelganger film.
I know, and they came out around the same time, both of them. And it's like, really, what's in the zeitgeist now that everybody wants to play their own evil twin in a movie? It's very strange. Anyway, I get that actors really want to do that, but it doesn't necessarily work. Very strange thriller. Melanie Laurent is in it, and I always love her. I thought she can do no wrong, but I don't know, man. It just seems like a weird misfire for these guys. So I had hoped for better, but
he'll be all right.
Yeah. Anyway. And then we've got, lastly, on the new movie front, the one that everyone's been waiting for. I mean, we all have been sitting on pins and needles, even people who didn't want to see 300, Return of an Empire, Rise of an Empire, whatever it's called. I know you're all thinking, I have got to see Wolf Creek 2, right? Huh? Everyone? Anyone? Wolf Creek 2? No? Okay, maybe not. Wolf Creek, of course, was an Australian film that got a bit of a cult following, and now they have felt the need, I guess, to make a gorier, less sensible, more exploitive sequel in Wolf Creek 2. And if you're a horror fan, I'm sure this just scratches every itch you have ever had, but it gets so tiresome to me. So I recommend this strictly to people who just cannot get their fill of the Wolf Creek franchise. I'm sure there'll be a Wolf Creek 3.
Wade, I'm kind of a fan of Comedy Bang Bang. Now, Comedy Bang Bang is a Comedy Central actually, it's an IFC show, and it is based on a comedy podcast that used to be called Comedy Death Ray, or Comedy Death Ray Radio, I guess it was called. And it was funny stuff. It was Scott Aukerman and a very bizarre comic who I've seen on stage named Reggie Watts. He's African-American. He has this huge afro and beard, and he's got this very strange, bizarre stage presence. But it's funny stuff. And so IFC gave him a show called Comedy Bang Bang. And it's good. It's 20 episodes. It's on DVD, not Blu-ray, unfortunately. 20 episodes. You get a lot of decent guest stars because, again, this show has a comedy. It has a cult following within the comedy community. Mm-hmm. So some of the guest stars include Jessica Alba and Aziz Ansari, David Cross, Jim Gaffigan, who I love, Anna Kendrick, Andy Richter, Andy Samberg shows up. So it's really good stuff. A lot of special features. There's commentaries. There's deleted scenes. So if you like kind of that, UCB stand-up comedy, not
sure.
like Groundlings Comedy Store type comedy. This is way more a little bit out there, but I like it. Check out Comedy Bang Bang.
All right, Mark, I'm going to blow through a bunch of British television here and then let you get back to regular TV. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can because we got a lot of British TV that has accumulated over time. William Shakespeare Collector's Edition.
William Shatner Collector's Edition?
No, William Shakespeare.
William Shatner?
Well, same thing, right? We've heard Shatner do To Be or Not to Be.
The best.
It is, isn't it? To be or not to be. That is the question. Oh, it's the best. It just doesn't get any better. Now, this is William Shakespeare Collector's Edition from PBS, which is a little odd because you think, oh, it's like all of Shakespeare. No, it's not. It's just Macbeth, basically. 7 hours on 3 DVDs. Which includes the previously released Patrick Stewart Macbeth, which I saw on stage on the West End, I should point out, and was amazing. And as good as it is here, obviously live is so much better. This also includes In Search of Shakespeare, which was another PBS release, and the complete play of Macbeth, and then a gigantic memorabilia collection, Shakespeare stuff galore, little notes and maps and pictures and all this kind of stuff. So really this is a big homage to Shakespeare, primarily centered around Macbeth and In Search of Shakespeare. But it's a nice box set, it's a nice gift, so you should definitely consider this if you have somebody who's a fan. It's a nice gift to give. Poirot. The Poirot series are finally making their way slowly onto Blu-ray, and Poirot series 11 and 12 are out, 2 discs apiece, both from Acorn. These are finally in the original United Kingdom broadcast order, which previous releases were not, and Poirot has been split between, A&E had a lot of these titles for a long time, and there were the series, there were the 1 hours, and then there were the 2-hour mysteries, and it all got very confusing, and a lot of people were just sort of trying to get their complete Poirot collection, and they never quite could. But what's really nice about this is that you use a lot of these actors that we're now really familiar with, that we weren't at the time, but they've been in other shows that are hugely popular. Now you get to revisit this, and you're like, hey, look at that! There's Jessica Chastain and Hugh Bonneville and Eileen Atkins and people who've really gone on to do bigger and better things. That's pretty cool. And so you get these 4 mysteries apiece on 2 discs, series 11 and 12 on Blu-ray. And even though this was not a terribly well shot show, I will say Acorn has done a good job getting these things to look pretty darn good. Really quickly, knock out a couple more before I let you do another thing. The Making of a Lady, the original UK edition, originally aired here on PBS, is the adaptation of the Frances Hodgson Burnett novel about like all these things, it's always about some young Victorian woman whose life is just completely messed up, and this is exactly the same thing. A poor young woman and who winds up meeting a young man who, shall we say, has a thing for her, as they often do in these kinds of Sense and Sensibility Jane Eyre type deals. Anyway, good story. One that I've never read the book. Was not that familiar with the story in any case, but I like all of this Victorian literature to begin with, and I thought this was a very, very good rendering of it, nicely cast. A lot of people that I hope to see in other movies at some point. Great Blu-ray from PBS. And then also we've got Guy Pearce, who is in The Rover right now and is freaking awesome in The Rover. Guy Pearce rocks.
It's about a dog, right?
Oh, you have no idea. Set 2 of Jack Irish. Guy Pearce is amazing. This is based on the books by Peter Temple, 2 discs. And Guy Pearce, the more lines he gets in his face, the better he is. So really, really good stuff. This is also on Blu-ray and DVD from Acorn.
Way to do a little Star Trek for you. We have Star Trek The Next Generation Season 6. This is the season 1992-93. By this point, the show is easily one of the best on television, and Season 6 is one of its best seasons. My favorites here are, what's it called? Tapestry, where Picard dies in an accident, and he goes through the afterlife and analyzes his past choices. I really like that one a lot. Also, Mr. Scott comes back in an episode called Rascals, which I think it was called Rascals. It was called something. No, actually, it wasn't called Rascals. But actually, does Mr. Scott come back in this episode?
Can't remember.
No, he does. He does. God, my memory's dying. Mr. Scott comes back in an episode that was pretty terrific, except I thought Mr. Scott should have died at the end of it, but he did not. I'm just saying, he should have died at the end of the episode, but he didn't. Anyway, so this is a good season. It does have the Birthright, which is a 2-parter with Worf. I don't like any of the Worf stories where you talk about honor and everyone. The lighting is also due. There's like smoke, and everyone talks about honor and purity. And
of course they do.
The croc ceremony. I don't like any of that stuff. So forget Birthright, but there are some great episodes, especially Tapestry, and also the 2-part Chain of Command, which was one of the classic Star Trek 2-episode arcs that is not only included in the Season 6 Blu-ray But it is also broken out into its own separate DVD release.
Very nice.
Which is just Star Trek Next Generation Chain of Command. Special features there include an audio commentary by Ronnie Cox, who plays the Cardassian villain who tortures Picard. It's very funny. When the show first came out, we thought, oh, Cardassians, they're a terrible new Star Trek villain. Now, in 2014, Cardassians sounds like Kardashian.
Oh, it's the worst.
That's not fair. Anyway, so I think this is a good season, one of the best of Star Trek: The Next Generation. So I would go ahead and spring for the whole season. Of course, what I'm waiting for, and don't know if it's ever going to happen, I'm waiting for, because there's only one more season left. The show only lasted 7 seasons.
I know.
So I'm hoping for one big honking Next Generation mega insanity set suitable for display on your Blu-ray DVD bookshelf. Don't know if it's going to happen. We have no intelligence on this. In fact, we have no intelligence generally. What I'm saying is, once the 7th season comes out, I would love to see a big-ass honkin', put them all in like a huge die-cast Enterprise model, stick them all in there. Be awesome.
Okay.
But until then, season 6, good stuff.
I
Also, a couple of the episodes in season 6 were directed by Adam Nimoy, Leonard's son.
Oh, good.
That's
You named his son
interesting.
Adam? You named his daughter Eve? What's up with that, yo?
See, that's not.
What up, word?
That's just not right,
Bro?
bro.
All right. Some great period mystery here. Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, Series 2, based on novels by Kerry Greenwood. This is an Australian series, which is why I included it in British television, because, Australia, Canada, you guys, you're still part of the British Empire, right? You're still part of the Commonwealth. You didn't fight a war, right? So why should I, what up? No, this is really good stuff. This is Australian television, which is a lot like British television in many respects, and set in the 1920s in Melbourne. And she's sort of like, she's like Miss Marple, except she's young and hot, which tells you that the Australians actually have their priorities in a good place. And, the pizzazz and the flash of the 1920s, not entirely unlike the rest of the world at that time. Really fun stuff. And what's really nice about period mystery is that you can't rely on like a Google search or on forensic, microscope analysis to solve your mystery. It's got to be old-fashioned sleuthing. And that goes a little bit for George Gently as well.
George Jetson?
Yes, exactly. George Gently's Series 6. The Series 5 ended on a very dark note, and 6 months later, after that dark note, this picks up, and you're now in 1969, and all of the turmoil of that period in England is very much the backdrop of this outstanding show, which gets better and better with each successive series, and Series 6 is far and away the best series yet of that. Mr. Selfridge Season 2, Jeremy Piven, at his level best, much better than in anything I've ever seen him in, the lone American in this cast of Brits as the American guy who established the department store known as Selfridges in London. If you've ever been there, it's amazing. I've been there a million times. I never realized it was an American who founded the thing. The first season was great. The second season is even better. Really great stuff. And I don't know how much of this is now starting to fictionalize and how much of it is really based in fact, but it doesn't matter because it's really good. It's well written, and it's maybe a notch below Downton Abbey, and that's already high praise. And then lastly, on this little batch, we have got Ripper Street Season 2. This has been a big deal on BBC America in the States, and this, of course, is very much in that Dickensian, Victorian, the grit of it, right? The Jack the Ripper / Sherlock Holmes era. And this show it really kind of pushes the envelope, and it's a little bit tough, but I still really enjoy it. It sort of doesn't go too far, even though it really wants to kind of push your face into. I guess what was the HBO series Deadwood? It's got a Deadwood kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I love
right?
Deadwood.
Right? This is like Deadwood in the muck and the disgusting, nasty, watery, grungy streets of London, of Victorian London. It's got the same kind of a vibe. So Ripper Street, very, very good. But just a tad cartoonish, but not too much so. It works very nicely. It's got kind of a graphic novel vibe to it. So anyway, season 2, fine stuff.
Yes, Wade. Duck Dynasty season 6 has just premiered. Its numbers are down. It's not really a phenomenon anymore. It's just a very, very solidly rated show. The phenomenon days are over. It's got to end sometime, and obviously the patriarch of the family didn't do himself any favors with his little rant that went viral on the internet. But anyway, we have on Blu-ray Duck Dynasty Season 5. This one includes an appearance by Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, it does.
Seriously?
Yes, it does.
Whatever.
Oh, come on, are you kidding me?
It's like,
what better way to shore up your street cred with that crowd than going on Duck Dynasty?
I guess. Did you see? Speaking of, and it's a complete aside. Did you see Chris Christie do the Father's Day dad dancing thing?
He's like Rob Ford without the cocaine.
No, but like Michelle Obama went on Jimmy Fallon and for Mother's Day and did the evolution of mom dancing, which I'm sorry, I just thought was like, I love Jimmy Fallon, I love all of his shtick, but I was like, oh dude, no, don't do this, not with the First Lady and the whole, it doesn't, this is really not entertaining and not funny. And then it's like his worst segment of the year, and he goes and he does the dad version of it with Chris Christie, and I'm just like, why? This isn't funny.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I TiVo Fallon now.
Yeah.
And Letterman. Let me tell you something. Fallon, I'm over it. You know why? Because his performance has now ossified, where he's got himself a thing, and he always does that thing, which includes laughing uproariously at everything the guest says that is even remotely chuckle-worthy. He just bowls over laughing.
Yeah.
Second of all, he is always interrupting his guests. He is never letting his guests get a real story, complete thought, and he's always interrupting them.
So he's not Dick Cavett.
And he's basically just a bad interviewer.
Yeah.
And the thing is that at first it seemed kind of charming, kind of that oh gosh, oh shucks kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you know what? You've just relaxed. Throttle back. You've got the job. The show's a hit. You're fine. Don't forget what Johnny did, okay? Your guest is the star. If the guest looks good, you look good.
Yeah.
You could say nothing. And if the guest kills, you look good.
Yeah.
Stop interrupting your guests, okay, so that they don't know when to start their story or stop their story. Okay, stop laughing like what they said is the funniest thing that ever happened in the world. And just be interested in your guests. He just doesn't seem very curious.
Oh, well.
And also, they also do the same 2 or 3 desk bits every day. Okay. Now, some are cute. I mean, they're like pros and cons and thank you notes. Those are good, solid conceits to throw a lot of jokes in.
Yeah.
Clever, especially thank you notes. I think that's always fun. But I mean, come on, more.
Yeah, all right.
Retire old ones, bring in new ones. Don't do the same ones all the time. But what I'm saying is that NBC should be very, very happy, and Fallon has just been worked well for them, because they didn't need another Conan O'Brien debacle. But what I'm saying is that Fallon needs to expand his hosting horizons just a little bit.
All right, and then I'm including this, frankly, in British television. I'm not going to let you talk about this in regular television, just because there's Michael Sheen in it, and because I think this is a great new show. Masters of Sex, Season 1. Have you seen this on Showtime?
Can I tell you something about Michael Sheen?
Have you seen this?
Michael Sheen dates the hottest girls. What is the thing with Michael Sheen?
I don't know, man. But I'll tell you, maybe it's this show. This is a super cool period show. This is about Masters and Johnson.
You realize who Michael Sheen's new girlfriend is? Sarah Silverman.
I know.
I mean, he was married to whatever Kate Beckinsale, whatever her name shall be.
Kate Beckinsale.
Whatever. No, the other one. Who's
Kate Blanchett?
No, who's the other hot?
Kate Winslet?
No, he's married to.
Michael Sheen was married to
Kate Beckinsale. Rachel Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale.
He was hooked up with Kate Beckinsale.
A million years ago.
Yeah, for like 8 years.
Well, that was a long time ago. It was before she married what's his face, the director dude.
It was Kate Beckinsale. She's hot.
Right. Okay,
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't know about that one.
Okay, and now Sarah Silverman.
Well,
That guy, and he's not that handsome, but he must be just incredibly charming, or he must have a gigantic
Okay, we'll go somewhere
wallet.
else. Okay. Anyway, Masters and Johnson, William Masters and Virginia Johnson were, of course, they did all the huge studies on human sexuality. Anyway, this dramatizes all of that, and it's pretty great. Michael Sheen and Lizzie Kaplan play Masters and Johnson. And you also get Beau Bridges and a whole lot of other really terrific actors in here, and cast and crew commentaries on the pilot episode, deleted scenes, making of featurettes. It's a lot of fun. It's a really, really good show. 12 episodes. This is the first season on Showtime, and in just a couple of weeks, about a month time actually, this gets rolling again in another season, and I can't frankly wait. I think it's terrific. A couple of other period things from PBS: Murder on the Home Front. The original UK edition with Patrick Kennedy and Tamsin Merchant in basically all set during World War II, but looking for murderers in London while the Germans are attacking, and it's pretty great. It's a really fascinating way of creating a new backdrop for British mystery and British crime. And somehow they keep coming up with great new shows. I mean, the British crime tradition is one of the best there is, and this is a pretty sharp show. This is Murder on the Home Front, so definitely check this out. This is cool, worthwhile from PBS. And then Call the Midwife, Season 3. A lot of people have gotten much more into this than I did, but I'm still trying to sort of acclimate myself to it and try to love it as much as I love a lot of other shows. This takes place in London, in East London specifically, in the 1950s, and I like the cast. I'll say that. I like the cast. And then a bunch of Doctor Who's. We've got Doctor Who, The Time of the Doctor, which, suddenly has better costumes than previous Doctor Who's, I will say. Then there's also An Adventure in Space and Time, 3 discs. This features the first Doctor Who adventure ever. And this is... primarily, I would say, for fans. Really, pretty much for fans. This is, it's too intensely rooted in the lore. I don't know that anybody who comes to this fresh is really going to be able to make much sense of it. And then similarly, from the Patrick Troughton years, is The Enemy of the World, which will make absolutely no sense to anybody who, this is very early Doctor Who. It's 1960s. And it's a very raw and very technically inarticulate, and not a lot of money in this. But I guess if you've seen a lot of later Doctor Who and you watch this, you start to realize there is certain continuity and certain ideas. But man, I don't understand how the people who are doing Doctor Who right now even keep track of all this stuff.
I don't understand Doctor Who at all.
I don't know how they keep track of all the rules and who's done what. I mean, there are people who are doing this now who weren't even born when there'd already been 5 or 7 Doctor Who's and a million changes and all that.
You know what the name of the phone booth is called? What, the Retarded? Is that what it's called?
The TARDIS.
Oh, it's not the Retarded.
No, stop.
It's just the worst.
Carry on.
All right, speaking of the worst, this has got to be the dumbest show ever. Unforgettable, which CBS had actually canceled, and then when there was interest in other networks to pick it up, they actually changed their mind and renewed it. It's a summer series starring Poppy Montgomery. Wait, here's the thing.
Yes.
She plays she's a cop. Wait.
Uh-huh.
And she has this rare condition where she can remember everything that ever happened to her.
Yep.
Pick the day. She'll tell you what she wore, who she spoke to, what they said. Right?
Yep.
The only thing she can't remember is what happened when her sister was murdered.
Oh, gosh.
Terrible. Oh, so tragic. So, there you go. So she, whatever. It's just so bad. Now, it's a summer series. Season 3 is premiering soon, and so in anticipation, they have released Season 2 on DVD. I think the show is ridiculous.
Good deal. Some other detective stuff that is worth checking out. I'll go through real quickly. These are, well, from Acorn. Most of these are from Acorn, I believe, and then one from BBC. The complete collection of Father Brown, which is, yet another one of these mystery-serving detectives. This is stars Kenneth Moore, who is a fabulous actor. Main reason to watch it. Season 10 of New Tricks. Which, if I need to explain this to you, you've been living on Mars. This is, obviously already a decade old, and it's about retired cops who, bring their expertise to teach those new young whippersnappers a thing or two. And very, very good show. Then there's also Season 9 of Dalziel and Pascoe, which this is from BBC. And this is dark and dark and dark and very dark, but somehow the whole Britishness of it overrides the Seven/Silence of the Lambs-ishness of it. And then Ian Glenn, an actor I've always really liked, and I wish he'd show up in more movies again. Ian Glenn stars in as Jack Taylor, and this is based, as many of them are, on a series of novels. Ken Bruin wrote the crime novels that this is based on. This is set 2. And, again, the reason to watch this is for Ian Glenn, because he is such a fantastic actor. He was briefly in Downton Abbey, and among many, many other things. I want him to be in features. He is a great actor, especially in features, and especially the way that he's aging. So he's the reason to watch this as well. This is set 2 of Jack Taylor. And then we also have Republic of Doyle, Season 1. And this is a new show. This is a Canadian show, and I think it should have a fairly long life. I would think it's hopefully this will be around for a little while. So the stars Alan Hawko and Sean McGinley, neither of whom I'm all that familiar with, but they're good. They're good. So. Keep it up, and let's see how future shows show up. So that is called The Republic of Doyle. That's the first season. Good detective show.
Yes, Wade?
Oh, yes.
Wade, you're
Sorry.
saving the best for possibly last?
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, let's rock with that one.
Wade, let me tell you something.
Yes.
Wade, there was a show.
Yes.
It was an awesome show.
Yes.
It was a little before my time, so I only got into it in reruns.
For sure.
But it was I Spy.
Yeah.
Now, I Spy was a detective show that was a bit groundbreaking for the time because it co-starred Robert Culp and African-American Bill Cosby.
Yes, it
Now,
did.
what people have to understand is that this is 1965.
Yep.
And the idea that an African-American would star on a network, prime time, 1 hour, big money, spy show, unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But Robert Culp, God bless him, may he rest in peace, really fought for Cosby to be on the show. It was really Robert Culp.
Yep.
And Cosby will actually admit this and has talked about this a lot. So thanks to Robert Culp, Bill Cosby wound up with the role. They are just the coolest, awesomest, tennis-playingest secret agents ever. We have, on this 18-disc DVD set, which was Blu-ray, a DVD set, we have 82 episodes of the show, and it's great. It was on NBC, and it's a whole lot of fun, and it's a little bit, some of it's kind of dated since it's all like kind of Cold War stuff, but it was a fun show. It was a really fun show. It was very well written. It was executive produced by Sheldon Leonard. Now Sheldon Leonard, of course,
it had that great kind of Saul Bassey title sequence to it
Yes.
as well. Fun stuff.
Saul Leonard, of course, also produced Gomer Pyle and Dick Van Dyke Show, the Andy Griffith Show. Did a lot of stuff. So this is a great show. I Spy. Your parents are going to love it. In fact, it's Father's Day. No, actually, Father's Day passed last week.
Yeah.
So forget that. A belated Father's Day gift.
Yes.
Could be. Or a very early Father's Day gift for next year. Could be.
So
I
you're not a
Spy.
father, so you're not keeping track of these things.
No,
I had a very interesting Father's Day. I'll tell you more about it afterwards.
God.
Anyway.
It's your first Father's Day. It was your first Father's Day.
No, second.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Happy
Father's Day.
birthday.
No, not really. Okay, and then lastly, just before we can this show, Mark, a couple of BBC things just to cover here. When BBC goes ancient, ancient-ish. It could go one of two different directions. It could be either Chased by Dinosaurs, which is the latest Walking with Dinosaurs deal, and this is always fun. The animation's sharp, and these guys really do a great job with their computer animation. It's very, very realistic. It's better than Jurassic Park at this stage. This is fun. We get the return of the Velociraptors, and I'm good with this. The Chased by Dinosaurs, good, scary stuff, well done, educational. I don't know what they're thinking. What is up with Atlantis? What is up with this show? Are you familiar with this show?
No, it's stupid.
It's terrible. Why would they do
BBC
this?
does a lot of great shows. This is not
Why
one.
would they do this? This is like Xena and Hercules revisited. I don't understand this. Anyway, the whole there's nothing good that comes out of The Legend of Atlantis. It was not a good animated film. The original movie Atlantis Lost Kingdom, which is 1960 something, late 50s, early 60s, where it's like almost like Island of Dr. Moreau set on Atlantis. It's ridiculous. It's truly one of the worst films ever made, which is why I keep the DVD, to prove to people this thing actually exists. It's ridiculous, truly ridiculous. You can't do this right, and I'm so sorry to see Mark Addy in this, because I love Mark Addy, and I was wondering what had happened to him, and sure enough, Mark Addy, here he is. And I get it. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be campy. I get it, but I don't understand why it's not. It just isn't good. It just isn't good. It's not good. So sorry, you guys gotta help me out here. I desperately want to know who came up with this and why this very strange, unusual, odd, and unfunny show somehow prevails. Is it going to continue? Do I have to suffer through more of this? I don't know. Anyway, there it is. And Mark?
Yes.
Any dating escapades that we can go out with? That can you share with us, like how your life has changed in strange and wonderful ways?
No, although I have to admit, I spent all of last week's podcast texting my ex-girlfriend.
Oh well, that's. Oh, well. On that note.
On that note, what? I don't know.
On that note,
to be continued.
Think, yeah.
Hopefully not.
We'll go out on that note.